Good evening. I am the narrator, and welcome to my parlor. Tonight's story is Sender Unknown. I held it in my hand. I stared at it, so excited. My first cell phone. I was the first at school to own one. A double victory. What a victory. I was the first caller to correctly answer a trivia question. What state did Marianne of Gilligan's Island call home? Derek, the morning DJ, asked. Kansas, I exclaimed. My old landline was shaking in my hand. That is correct, he affirmed. Of course, I said it, and I watched the show with my grandparents. I didn't have to save my allowance anymore. I wouldn't need to ride the bus to the electronics store. I leapt on my bike and pedaled right to 107.5 where Cobbtown rocks. There they forked it over on the spot. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed, right there in my hand. An Apple iPhone 4, black, pink case, 32 GB storage capacity. The pink case was my idea. Hopefully, number 5 was still years ahead. Right away, I showed it off, at school, in the neighborhood. I loved their envy, which they never felt towards me. They would try to steal it. So I tucked it in my inner jacket pocket and used it only when I was alone. This way, I could take it everywhere I went. It became a part of me, like an extension of me. I filled its address book with friends' and relatives' numbers and took loads of selfies. For once I'd won, without question. But my excitement wasn't universally shared. Daddy dismissed it as a fixation and bickered about the cost of my plan. My sister called it annoying. My mother, as usual, had no opinion. Their envy was obvious. Luckily, I had a lock on my bedroom door. They say all things must pass. That proved true, though I would never have agreed at first. It was a Friday evening. My family was dispersing. My parents were going to a friend's house in the city. My sister was going to a friend's house in town. They dropped her off and went on the highway, so I had the evening to myself. If I fail at one thing, it's popularity. My peers shun me. Girls call me arrogant. Boys say I have attitude. Both are facades. The girls envy my beauty. The boys fear it. I've never pointed this out. Their egos are too fragile. I do have one friend, though, Kayla. She's always at my side. She repeats everything I say like a parrot. It's like she has no spine. She tries so hard not to be like me, but to be me. But she knows she can't be me, so she just accepts it. I didn't show her my phone. She doesn't need to be embarrassed any further. Moving on. I was on the couch. The sun was setting early. The sky was turning red. It would soon turn black, and the moon and stars would be out. No biggie. Far be it from moi to fear the dark. That was for my sister. I relaxed and watched my favorite show, Gossip Girl. The night's episode was pretty blah, but I still liked it. I liked watching it for once without Daddy complaining. I could complain about his sports, but I'm more polite than him. Soon I felt my stomach rumbling. Thankfully, no one was there to hear it. Alas, Mother was gone, but Daddy had left me money. Granted, he'd left it in his dresser, but its intended use was more than implied. I rose and went to my parents' room. If they saw it missing, Kelsey did it. I had $20, so called San Rocco's, the only pizza place in town. I had trained its staff. They knew my name and number, and that I would raise hell if they were late. The owner trained them to avoid conflict. I had their number in my address book, called it, rang, and grew impatient. At last, I was acknowledged. The guy sighed, laziness breeds exhaustion, and turned from the phone. I heard him refer to someone, and then he came back. 20 minutes, he said. In that time, a car pulled in the driveway. Its driver rang the bell. He wore the red t-shirt and baseball cap with the company logo. I pulled the box from his hands and checked for heat and toppings. It was my usual, so they'd no excuse for error. You can go, I told him. He slammed the door and I went back to my couch. He'd driven just 5 miles, so I didn't tip. I spared no time and am glad no one was watching. As I ate, my phone beeped. The TV was on, so I almost missed it, but quickly fixed my error. I was excited. My first text. Who could it be? Grandma? Grandpa? One of my cousins? I finished my slice and went straight to messages. There was the green dot I'd been waiting for, but my excitement faded quickly. I know who you are, was the message. Unknown was the sender. Ha! My phone was the envy of the town, but it was mine. This was the best they could do. I wrote a list of suspects and found their numbers in my school directory and called them one by one. But first, my sister. I called her friend's house. Her mother answered and greeted me. I ignored her and demanded, "Kelsey!" I pressed her hard. She denied even harder and hung up. I then phoned my classmates. but each said the same. I was growing frustrated. If this phone was someone else's, I would have thrown it at the wall. I then remembered. My suspects didn't know my number, and it was unlisted. Someone had told them. It had to be ATT. I called them quickly, explained what was going on, and told them who was doing it. That isn't our policy, they said, and hung up on me. I laid my phone on the end table and leaned back. The whole room felt tense. Beep. I waited a moment and checked in disgust. I know where you live. Unknown sender was at it again. Now I was feeling scared. I had accepted that my suspects and my provider had been honest, best they knew, but I had no idea who unknown was. You don't know who I am, I typed, though my fingers trembled. I pressed send and waited. Beep. They knew my full name, hair, and eye color. My height and birthday. Only my weight was off. They'd slightly overestimated. I froze. My eyes grew big. Defensively, I typed, well, you don't know where I live. Beep. A photo of the outside of my house. I lowered the phone to my knees, leapt to my feet, and ran to the front door and the back door. Thankfully, both were locked. I ran to the windows. They were open. I closed them and drew their curtains. I ran to the kitchen, rifled through the cutlery, and found the paring knife, clenched its handle and waved it in the air. It gleamed in the dim light. I went back to my phone and typed, how do you know these things about me? Beep. How does one know anything? I don't appreciate wise assery. Who are you? Beep. Do you know who you are? Of course I know who I am. What do you want from me? Beep. Meet me at the bridge. My blood ran cold. Don't talk to strangers, I'd always been told. I thought to call the cops, which I should have done right away. I did, and when they saw my name, the guy hung up. Don't make prank calls. Beep. I hesitated and gazed down, slowly. Either you meet me in the park, or I meet you at your home. What to do? I could either stand chairs under the doorknobs or take my chances. I don't know why, but I took my chances. What do you want from me? I typed. Beep. Oh, not much. So long as it's not much. Beep. Splendid. I stuffed my phone, my key, and my knife in my woolen jacket. I slowly crept out, careful to lock the door behind me. By then it was nighttime and looked creepy. The trees were bare, the grass was gray and matted. Dead leaves were scattered everywhere. The wind nipped my face and fingers. I heard what sounded like whispers in the distance. Was that? I thought. I crept down the sidewalk, envying my neighbors. If only I was like them, asleep. No anonymous texts, no anonymous texter. I left the neighborhood and came to the fields, where there were the barns and the silos. The street ended, the dirt road began. The marsh was just ahead. Its trees seemed to beckon me. I breathed deeply and indulged them. They and their branches seemed to merge into walls and as ceilings. If the moon wasn't shining, I would have thought it was a cave. At last I saw the sign with the black letters painted on old wood. Welcome to Cobden Park. Welcome. Whatever. I breathed deeply again and crept forth. Next was the old rickety bridge and the stream beneath. The wind began to howl as I stepped onto the first beam. It could have collapsed, not because of my svelte figure, but because it was so old. But I wasn't worried. I know how to swim, and the water was flat. I peered around, waiting to see unknown. Alas, I saw and heard nothing. Briefly, I felt relieved. Maybe this was a prank after all. Maybe they would jump from the trees, maybe with a camera. I could handle that easily. I peered down at the stream. The water was black. The surface was, again, flat. I peered closer and saw a small object under the surface. It was black, square, and plastic. A cell phone. What's more, it wasn't alone. I saw a second, then a third, then a fourth, floating all around. I was more than startled. I peered deeper and saw two eyes. They were hollow, sunken. There was a face. It was pale and thin. There was hair, but it hadn't been washed or combed or styled or anything in probably days. I was shocked. I stepped back, but couldn't look away. Then I saw a second face, and a third, and for every phone there was a face. I was lucky. They didn't move. They didn't reach forth. Just kind of floated. I peered even deeper and saw more phones. Some were falling from limp fingers. Some were stuck in mud and algae. None of them were iPhones 4, mind you. My neck jerked. I gazed ahead. Beep. I withdrew my phone slowly, stiffly, like a robot. I see you've arrived. My mind shut down. My legs took over. Off the bridge, through the park, the forest, the fields, the neighborhood. I'd never ran like that. Not even, especially not in gym class. My heart was pumping and my breath was short, but it didn't feel tired at all. Maybe there's a term for that. I got home at the same time as my parents. My mother opened the door and I followed them inside, collapsed onto the couch. They stared at me with wide eyes. "You joined the track team?" Daddy asked. "I don't think I'll qualify," I groaned. They went to their room to sleep. My eyes closed and the den around me vanished. They reopened in utter darkness. The only light was from the clock. It was 2 a.m. Beep. I reached down and on my back brought my phone to my face. "Almost got you there." That was the last message from the unknown sender. I never told anyone. No one would believe me. Not my parents, my peers, not Kayla or my sister. They would think I'm insane. I would plummet from the envy of the town to the oddball in the corner, and that'd be even worse than floating dead in the stream.